Good morning, everybody. Go ahead, Dalini.
Yes, so good morning, everyone. We are going to get started as it's 11:01. So to start us off, I will pass it to Daniel to lead the land acknowledgement for us. Daniel, over to you.
Thank you, Dalini. So we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Okay, back to you.
Thank you, Daniel, for starting us off on a good note. Okay, so welcome everyone to today's professional development webinar as part of the mentorship program for Black staff. And today's webinar will be focused on resume building, as we mentioned in our invite. We are so excited to have you here again for this webinar. And we have a packed agenda today. I'm just going to go over what we have in store for us today. So once I give you a bit of an introduction, then I will have Simone lead us with the African Ancestral Acknowledgement to honor our heritage. And then following that, Charmin will introduce our amazing guest speakers, Erinn Daley-Reid and TerriLynn Hulett, who are both from People and Equity. And then we'll turn the floor over to our amazing facilitators to lead the presentation for us on resume building. And hopefully, if time permits, we will also have some time for question and answers at the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the chat during the presentation, and then following it, we will take it at the end. Okay, so let's get started. As I mentioned, we are very thrilled to have you join us for this interactive and engaging webinar on resume building. And today's session is designed to support you with highlighting your skills and your experiences, and so that you can tailor your resume to specific job postings, avoid any common pitfalls that may hold your applications back. And the session also equips you with tools and insights to strengthen your resume and to help you position yourself as a strong candidate. And whether you're looking for your next opportunity or you're simply looking to amplify your achievements, we are confident that you will leave with valuable tips to create a strong presentation of your skills, your strengths, and experiences. And I also want to mention that if you have to leave early, we hope you do not. But if you do have to, our session will be recorded and will be shared in our intranet page spot shortly. Okay, I'm going to pass it on to Simone to lead the African Ancestral Acknowledgement for us now. Simone, over to you.
Thank you, Dalini, and good morning, everyone. The City of Toronto acknowledges all treaty peoples, including those who came here as settlers, as migrants, either in this generation or in generations past, and those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. And with that, I pass it back over to you.
Thank you, Simone, for starting us off with the African Ancestral Acknowledgement. Now I'm going to pass it on to Charmin to introduce our amazing speakers. I'm sure you already know them because they led our wonderful webinar networking earlier. But for those who maybe listened to them for the first time, Charmin, over to you to introduce them again.
Thank you. Thank you, Dalini. I am very excited to introduce our speakers, but before that, I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Charmin Ismail. For those of you that don't know me, I am the program lead for TESS. And every time I mention TESS, I better be seeing those emojis coming in. We have 117 people online right now. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. I have the absolute honor of introducing our amazing, amazing guest speakers. Like Dalini mentioned, you may have already been introduced to them at our networking session. We found that that was a very successful session based on the feedback that we have received from all of you. So today we have with us TerriLynn Hulett, who is a multiracial 2S LGBTQ woman with her visible disability with vision loss who uses a white cane and uses a screen reader as well. TerriLynn works with people and equity as an accessibility workforce equity specialist with over 20 years of employment services experience working within the intersectional cross-disability community as a vocational professional and manager. TerriLynn also has been a strong inclusion advocate for inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. Some of you may know this as IDEA, advocate throughout her career. Working with the city, TerriLynn is fortunate to continue her work advocating for accessibility and equitable employment opportunities away from inadequate social assistance schemes and undervalued pay and unpaid work. Can we please give TerriLynn a huge, huge round of applause? Thank you so much for joining us today, TerriLynn. And then we have Erinn Daley-Reid. Erinn comes highly recommended by our program mentees, and many of you may have already seen or met her at our in-person networking event. Erinn brings an extensive experience in private and public sectors, leading inclusive talent and development opportunities for City of Toronto. She focuses on supporting Black professionals through strategic partnerships, anti-racism initiatives, and inclusive recruitment to foster growth and retention. We are delighted to share that you will be seeing Erinn again as she will be leading our next professional development webinar. Actually, you may be seeing TerriLynn as well, so they both will be hopefully hosting our next session as well, and we're very excited about that. Can we please give Erinn a huge round of applause? Such powerful personalities, I got a little bit nervous introducing them. That's amazing. Thank you, everybody, for giving them such a warm welcome. And now I'll pass it over to Erinn and TerriLynn to take it away from here and start us off with our webinar.
Excellent. Is my screen sharing? Can everyone see the resume building?
Yes, all good.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you, Charmin, for the introduction. And hi and welcome, everyone. So again, my name is Erinn Daley-Reid, and I'm one of the Workforce Equity Specialists for Black Talent with the Workforce Equity Unit. If you don't know our work, our team does lead programs supporting like the Toronto Urban Fellows, as well as youth career development program. So TerriLynn and I, we have a lot of experience reviewing resumes and providing coaching to staff across the city and just helping support talent on how to move forward in their careers. So we only have a short period of time together today. And as Dalini mentioned, the goal is to walk you through some practical tips for improving your resume and your cover letter. So if you've watched the news, you probably come across some of those news stories or the job fairs like at the CNE with those long lines of people just going around the building. And it's the same here at the City of Toronto. For some of the roles, we're seeing anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 applicants just for one vacancy, which tells us the job market is really competitive right now. So for today, we're hoping to share a few tips and just strategies that can help you give you a competitive edge and make your application really stand out from the crowd. So this is our agenda for today. So we're going to start off with the basics. We'll go over the structure of a cover letter and the outline of a resume. And we'll also share some tips on how to tailor your resume more effectively. Then we'll touch on transferable skills. What are they? How can I spot them? Why do they matter? And after that, we'll walk through how to review a job posting and really break it down so you know exactly what employers are looking for. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some key tips, and we definitely save the best for last. Because if there's one thing we want you to take away from this session, it's the power of using strong action verbs, as well as applying the TAR method, task, action, and result, when you're writing your accomplishment statements. So we'll cover that in the end. So let's get started. This is going to involve some audience participation. what is a cover letter? So use the chat function just to let us know, what is your idea of what a cover letter is? What should it entail? What should it include? What is its purpose? We're going to give you about 30 seconds. What is a cover letter? Share your responses in the chat. Yes, it's a way to introduce yourself more personally. Well, introduce yourself. It's an introduction. An introduction and a synopsis of your key skills, a summary of how you meet the qualifications, a summary of your skills, an overview of your accomplishments and how they benefit the role, highlights of skills and qualifications. A cover letter is a way to introduce yourself and how it connects to the job position. Again, it's a brief synopsis of yourself and your skills to say why you want why you want the job so badly. An overview of your work experience. Ooh, I like this. A declaration of your interest in the position, what you can provide to the organization. Yes, these are great responses. So definitely, right? So we know that most folks have a good sense of what a cover letter should include. But what is a cover letter? So I always use this analogy that one of our colleagues shared just to describe it. So a cover letter is like the cherry on top of the sundae. So your resume is the sundae, it's the foundation. It lists your education, your work experience, and your skills. It has all of those great ingredients. But the cover letter adds that extra touch. It ties everything together and gives you a chance to show how your experience connects to the role. So over on the left of your screen or the right, you'll see a general example of how a cover letter is typically structured. So at the very top, you want to include your contact information. So that includes your name, your phone number, your email, your city and province. You can also include your LinkedIn profile, or if you have a creative portfolio, you can also include that as well, but that part is optional. The second part is at least your introduction. So this is where you state your interest and your excitement for the role that you're applying for. And you want to start off strong. So let the hiring manager know why you're excited about the position and why you're a great fit right in your introduction. Give them a reason to keep reading. And then the next part is the meaty section. This is the body of your cover letter. So usually it's either 1 to 2 paragraphs, sometimes even more, depending on the level of the job that you're applying for. And this is where you really want to craft your story. You want to be clear and factual, of course, but this is also your chance to expand on key achievements or projects that you might only get to briefly mention in your resume, but this is your opportunity to expand on those initiatives and those measures. So you really can use this section to show how you added value to the team, how you're going to support the unit or the team or the organizational goals. For example, I think a great use of a cover letter is when the job posting mentions lived experience as one of the qualifications. This is the perfect space to explain how your lived experience connects to the role and why it matters. The next part is the last part is just the conclusion. So here you'll briefly reaffirm your interest in the role. You'll thank them for the opportunity for reading your cover letter, and you'll also add a quick, polite call to action. So it's something like, I look forward to the opportunity to further discuss how I can contribute to your team. And we really can't stress this enough, especially when applying for city roles. Recruiters often manually screen over hundreds of applications. So to give yourself a competitive advantage, I promise you this is going to work for you. It's important to tailor your cover letter to each role that you're applying for. I know it's a lot of work, it's very time consuming, but you're really putting yourself, usually on the B or the A list if you tailor your cover letter. You want to use this space to show not only what you've done, but how and why you're the best fit for the role. We're actually going to, I do see some questions in the chat, but if we can just make note of them. Sorry, go ahead, TerriLynn.
Yeah, I think
I'm curious about the questions in the chat, but for sure, just with for in relation to what Erinn was talking about connecting your experience to the role, some of us are going to want to include a diversity statement, whether you're because it may tie to the work that you're doing, or you want to highlight that you belong to, a racialized group or to us LGBTQ community or people with disabilities. You really or perhaps that you're a black woman working in this area, so you want to make sure that those diversity statements where they're looking for specific experience, a part of indigenous communities. You don't want to it's going to show up on your resume, but as a person with a disability or as a woman, you're not going to state that in your resume. You'll more likely state it in your cover letter. So you want to also, as Erinn was saying, link it to a specific job description. So, for example, I appreciate that the city is looking for qualified representation at all levels of the organization. As a Black woman working within the accountant field or bookkeeping field, I bring a diversity lens to all of my projects, which, provides empathy and fresh ideas. And I'm a proud member of the Black Business Association. So, just ways that you can incorporate that diversity statement within your cover letter, being clear and concise, but not going into too much detail or any detail rather. As a person with a disability, no rehabilitation, no treatment, and things like that. But I just wanted to say, highlight your experiences within that diversity statement for sure.
Mhm. That's definitely. Let's take a look here. We can actually answer these questions right now. So there was a question: does a cover letter set us apart at the City of Toronto recruitment process, especially if there are over 100 resumes, since cover letters take a considerable amount of time to draft? So to answer that question, definitely, of course, it's going to set you apart. But I'm going to give you a little insider information. Recruiters, we see every role that you apply for. So we're hoping that you're being intentional about the positions that you're applying for. So this way you're not, if you are applying to over 50 different positions, that might, you might need to rethink what you're doing there, right? Because you want to be intentional about the opportunities that you're trying to create for yourself.
I
TerriLynn, did
just
you have
wanted,
anything? Yep.
yeah, I wanted to add that the cover letter really, if you're finding yourself reiterating a lot of the things in your resume, then you don't want to do that. You want to
Mm-hmm.
highlight those three essential skills in the cover letter, but it's a high level snapshot of what you're bringing, your passion, your expertise that you're bringing to the role. You've read the strategic plan of that division, and you've got something that you want to bring. So that's where your uniqueness and those soft skills and the way that you want to market yourself, it will be different in the cover letter than it will be in the resume. So, you definitely don't want to feel like you're reiterating the resume.
Mm-hmm.
You want to share your passion and those things that your resume aren't able to share in that cover letter. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely include a cover letter, and
Yes.
especially the higher up you go, you'll want to share, why
Mm-hmm.
you're the perfect person for the job.
Yes. And that touches on the second question. Is it still recommended to keep a cover letter to one page? Again, I would say this depends on the role, right? Because if you're
Yeah.
going to those higher wage positions, I have seen cover letters that are, 2 pages in length. Of course, you don't want it to be like an essay, 16 pages. That's not going to help you. But what you can do, concisely just expand on your resume in the cover letter. And it's usually generally 1 to 2 pages. That's a safe bet.
Yeah. A title,
Mhm.
subtitles, if it is 2 pages, might be helpful so that the recruiter can quickly access the information. So, and that might also help to keep you a little bit organized so you're not running onto talking about too many things in a paragraph, or if you choose to use bulleted points in your
Mhm.
cover letter, that would be helpful too.
Yes.
Just remember you're spoon feeding all the information to a recruiter and you want it to be clear, concise, and really easy to get to.
Excellent. So now we're On to our second question, the meaty question. What is a resume? So we're going to give folks about 30 seconds. Just think about it. What is a resume? What should it include? What is its purpose? And just share that in the chat. And then we'll go over some of the responses. What is a resume? Yes, it's a highlight of your skills and experiences, plus education.
Yep.
Yes, highlights qualifications, skills, educations, highlight of your achievements and experiences. Ooh la la.
These are great
Accomplishment, yes. It sums it up. Great. Your skills, qualifications, experiences in both paid and unpaid. Yes.
Absolutely.
Highlight that, okay? That definitely highlight that, especially for volunteer experiences. This is really a missed opportunity that I see often on a lot of resumes. It's just like your experiences, volunteer experiences, they matter as well. So ensure that you're embedding those on your resume. Your past education experiences in structured format. And if lots have passed, tailor it to the job posting or position. Relevant skills, qualifications, education, stats of performance. Yeah, sure. Yep. Measures, KPIs, definitely. Yes, you want to grab the attention. That's like the purpose of the resume. Great responses again. And thank you to those who responded. I'm just going to answer that question quickly. How far back should it go? It's usually 10 years. Own storytelling of experiences, great responses. We all have a great sense of what a resume should include. So yes, the resume is a concise, professional snapshot of you. It is your personal marketing tool that summarizes, again, your background, your skills, your education, your professional experiences that are relevant to the role. Because it's often the employer's first impression of you, it needs to be professional, it needs to be polished, and it needs to be error-free. So if you say that you have strong communication skills or you have strong Microsoft Word proficiency, your resume, it should prove that. That means you should use a clean font like Arial and size 11. You want to keep your formatting consistent with the spacing, and it should look cohesive with your cover letter. And you always want to use the spell check as well as proofread. And most importantly, yes, tailor your resume to each role. You don't know how far, or just like the competitive advantage you'll give yourself once you tailor everything, all the real estate that's provided in your resume. Right? It's not a full autobiography. You definitely don't want to provide a laundry list of every single task that you've done throughout the span of your career. You really want to focus on the relevant skills and the results, the impact. You want to show why you're the best fit for the role. So to the right of your screen, here's a very, very generic, it's a generic example of a resume outline, right? And the first thing on your resume, it should include your contact information. How can employers get into contact with you? So include your name, again, your city, province, your phone number, as well as a professional email address. The second section, which is optional, is your professional summary or your profile summary. So you want to use this section to quickly highlight your strengths and relevant experience. So you want to give the employer a snapshot of the value that you bring, something that grabs their attention quickly and makes them want to keep reading, right? Because right off the bat, we see whether or not your skills and experiences align with the role. The third section is the highlights of qualifications. This might be city specific, but it will be helpful to kind of gauge and grab the recruiter's attention. This is usually just a bulleted list of your key skills, experiences, and achievements, and it's tailored specifically to the job posting or the key qualifications. We're going to show you a bit later on like what that looks like, but you want to align the highlights of qualifications with the key qualifications in the role. And the next section is probably the most important part of your resume, where recruiters tend to focus their attention. Because sometimes I find myself skipping over the profile and the highlights, and I'm going to the meat, which is your work experience. So this section should include clear and concise account of your past roles, highlighting your key responsibilities, your accomplishments, measurable outcomes, and most importantly, the impact that you made. So one effective way to frame your experiences is by using the TAR method. Just like use the STAR method sometimes within interviews, which is situation, task, action, and result, you want to use the TAR method on your resume. So this approach will help strengthen your resume overall, and it provides a better story, right? And we'll go into detail more on how to use this method effectively. And the next section on your resume should also include your educational background. So you want to include, diplomas, degrees, or any formal training that you've completed. And you can also include other relevant sections. So this includes your volunteer work, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, certifications, publications, whether you have any professional memberships or any awards, for example, anything that supports your candidacy and tells your story. And finally, I would say a very important note, your resume should not include information about whether you have a disability, whether you go to rehab, whether you require accommodations, whether you have any diagnoses of any kind. While your gifts and your abilities, I'm sure they're valuable, this information is considered personal and it should not appear on your resume. Just like the words my and I shouldn't really appear on your resume, you don't want to include any accommodation related information on your resume as well. TerriLynn, I'm not too sure if you wanted to add anything.
I think you covered everything really succinctly. Just remember to prioritize those bullets. As Erin said, every single line is real estate on the page. So task, action, and result. Many people generally forget the result, and there's so many ways to capture the result at the end of that sentence. And even in your volunteer work, which is really important to the city, that you're connected to the community and that kind of thing. Again, prioritizing those bullets in relation to the job posting. So yeah, thank you, Erin. It's a great yeah section
Yeah, I
here.
think there was a comment here for the cover letter. Isn't it a risk to list your disability, race, etc.? I would be afraid to in my division. Again, what you want to ensure, like I would never just state on your resume that, hey, I'm a Black woman if it's in lived experience. Instead, you kind of detail the groups, maybe the associations that you're a part of. Like maybe I'm an active member of the Black staff network, right? That signals to recruiters that, hey, okay, this person, we're asking for lived experience and we want somebody who is Black or Afro-Caribbean descent. That kind of signals to us that, okay, you are, of that membership. And you kind of want to ensure that you're listing other associations and groups that you're a part of as well, right? As opposed to just saying, I am, like whatever your identity is. I think that goes a long way. And we do have another questions. How are applicants and recruiters using AI right now? At the City of Toronto, AI is not a thing. We can't afford it. We're doing everything manually. We are looking through your application. So this is, I think, externally, usually resumes, one page is okay. They want it to be concise. But at the City of Toronto, you really have an opportunity to demonstrate your experience. So definitely ensure that you're adding those details that's showing your value.
Yeah, you're not
Yes.
copying the job description, but you are taking keywords from that job description and
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing them. So those first four bullets of the requirements or the main duties, you want to be able to see them clearly right away on the first page of your resume. So when the recruiter's seeing it, they'll see the number of years of experience or the certifications that you have. Or what are those main essential duties that they're looking for?
Hmm. Yes, and I think we're going to pass it over to TerriLynn to go through the types of resumes.
So I think many of us know that there are three different types of resumes. We're not really going to go into a lot of detail here because we really want to encourage you to register with an employment agency. We have a list of them, Employment Ontario or some of our community partners that we can recommend. So it's really always helpful to have a second eye. So that employment agency could be that second eye for you and help you to make your resume a little punchy. Erinn and I are here as well, but there's only, the two of us. So, the more eyes on it, the better, especially people who are within the industry that you're looking at. Um, so when you're connecting with people that are in your industry, that'll also give you those, ideas of which resume is going to be better for you. Is it going to be combination? Is it going to be functional or chronological? So we know that there's functional resume, there's a chronological resume, and there's a combination. So just moving to the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about the chronological resume. Many of you know that it's really going to focus a lot on work history, so in reverse order. And one other thing to remember is when you're talking about the current place that you're working at, that's all in present tense. Every single job after that and all of your volunteer work after that is all in past tense. And again, no I, me, or my. In a chronological resume, you're really going to be seeing a lot of those dates. They're going to pop out. Recruiters are going to be able to see whether that is steady employment or not. It'll show up really. It'll really be highlighted in there. You're also in a chronological resume and in a functional resume, but in a chronological resume, it's also you're going to see very clearly what the title is and where you worked. So you always want to have the title first and then where you worked. And then you're going to have those duties and accomplishments, as Aaron talked about, linked to the position that you're doing, but also you want to, again, prioritize it to the job posting that you're applying for. So some of the drawbacks of having a chronological resume are that sometimes if you're applying, say, for an administrative role, but right now you're in a retail role, they'll see retail kind of right away. So, you might be seeing non-related work immediately. So, or if I'm in an administrative role at the city and I want to make that jump up to a project coordinator role, which is common, or executive assistant role, sometimes they'll see the job post or the job title first. So that might be emphasized first. So here again, you want to work to focus on those skills, pulling out some of the skills at the top of those bullets, even though the job title might be a little bit off here in terms of the job posting. Here we talked about the employment gaps are going to be a lot more noticeable. You will want to remember to put, because it's going to expose frequent job changes, like if you've had a contract every 6 months or every year and you're seeing that there's a lot of movement there, if it is a contract, we really want to encourage you to put in brackets beside the date contract or contract renewed. So then this way, it automatically tells the recruiter that this was seasonal work or this was a contract. You don't want to look like, why is this person jumping around a lot? We know that working at the city, many jobs are contract and you go from one to another, or you're trying to gain experience in different divisions. So we know that there's a lot of movement at the city, but try to again spoon feed that information to the recruiter as much as you can. The next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about a functional resume. And here, I like the functional because it's really at the really right at the top, you can see the different sections in relation to the role. So if you are, say, an administrative assistant or a project coordinator, and that's all you've ever done, your roles may come up repetitive. So here, you might want to use a functional format. So, for example, you might have a summary of highlight, identifying the number of years you've been doing, an administrative role, the document use, maybe your computer skills, and then right under there, because at the top it's going to be a snapshot, an overall snapshot of what the recruiter is going to want to see. But then the essential skills, each of the sections, you want to choose, say, maybe, for example, technical skills. You want to talk about words per minute that you are typing, reports or briefing notes, memos that you've done, presentations that you've created or facilitated. Whether they were really, a lot of us need to really remember whether virtual or in person. Those are two great skill sets to really highlight the specifics on your resume. So you might even want to have like a project coordination schedule, in terms of if you're administrative assistant, you're organizing, you're time managing, you're sometimes you're event planning, you're creating work back plans or following up with staff. So really, the sections that you're having in the functional resume, first, like I said, you've got the summary, a snapshot of everything, and then with the different sections you can interchange a maximum of maybe 3 to 4 sections that are in relation to that job posting. That would be helpful, again, to spoon feed that information right to the recruiter. So some of the advantages of having a functional resume are is that it, like I said, it reduces the repetition. If you've been a project manager for all of your life, then you know, or most of your career, or that's where you want to go, you can pick those specific sections and speak to them. So your technical skills again, and then everything, all the bullets underneath there, 6 or 7 bullets in relation to your technical skills. If you want to talk about your relationship building as a project manager, then you can talk then about your interdivisional work or working with funders or working with community and just really honing in on the skill sets for that. So you have an opportunity to create different sections that are essential that you can better highlight, which helps you again to spoon feed that information. With a functional resume, you can also hide employment gaps. So if you were away, childcare leave or parental leave, or maybe you're a person with a disability, you had rehab or treatment, and you had to go away. This is a great way to kind of hide some of those gaps. And then, like I said, right away at the top, you show the recruiter all of the skill sets you have. And then when they go down and they see, there'll be less focus on the dates that you're not there. And then also you can kind of put up instead relevant work experience and then put your volunteer work in and then the dates. So that might show up first and then your current work experience below that. So you have a little more leeway to kind of move things around. And also, it's a great way to jump from one role to another if you're trying to jump up or if you're making that lateral move into another role. Some of the disadvantages of a functional format are, it's hard for the recruiter to connect the accomplishments because the great thing I forgot about mentioning that's really important is that, say you are making that jump and a lot of your volunteer work, say you're the vice chair and you wrote a lot of project proposals and you helped, you know, um, you were quite the lead on many of the where you want to go in your career, but maybe in your current role you're doing executive administrative work where they have a lot of those skill sets. You still can put the all your volunteer work within those sections. So for the recruiter, it might be harder for them to see, okay, was this paid or not paid? But it's still an essential skill. So you want to be able to flesh out some of those. And I'll talk about those transferable skills later. But in a functional format, you can still combine your paid and unpaid work in those different sections that are there. as long as you're able to be able to speak to it. So if you're in an interview and somebody comments and says, "Okay, so I see you've done this and this." I know each interview is different. Sometimes they have access to your resume and sometimes they don't. But in the event they do probe you about something on your resume, you've got to be able to speak to it, whether it was volunteer or paid. But it's still an important skill set to have. I already talked a little bit about the timelines in terms of it not being as evident, one of the drawbacks in having a functional format. So moving to the next slide, I was going to start talking about transferable skills, but wanted to pose the question to all of you. I know I talked a little bit about it already, but what are transferable skills, and can you provide an example pulling from your club or your volunteer work that you're maybe currently doing that would benefit you in terms of applying to another role? Do you have examples, or do you know what transferable skills are, or can you share?
Yes, time management, leading a group or subgroup in
Mhm.
a volunteer capacity, communication skills, soft skills, project management, leadership skills, customer service, conflict resolution,
Mhm.
teamwork, negotiation skills, Office 365, skills that can be used in multiple different settings, management skills.
These are
Great
all,
responses.
yeah, these are great responses because I can't tell whether they're paid or unpaid, and that's exactly what transferable skills are. So, moving to the next slide, transferable skills really are useful to highlight those abilities in different jobs or industries. So, these are types of jobs that you can gain through academic work, your volunteer work, if you're part of BSN or BSN chapter, the club work, whether it's in the community that you're working in, both obviously paid work as well. So you might be in a role now. I talked a lot about administrative skills. There's a lot of coordination, project coordination that you can highlight in in an administrative role to help bump you up to the next level. And all of these areas can help you to apply to a new job, either moving up or a lateral move as well. So many of these skills are really not industry specific. So, for example, say you were working in a church and you were doing administrative skills such as, or skills such as maybe you're typing a bulletin to send out to the parish or the parishioners, or you're answering phones, or perhaps you might be working with refugees and working in donations and fundraising. We know that lots of churches are helping refugees right now. So some of those skills, including, if you were responsible for doing that on a volunteer basis, would be obviously teamwork, leadership, ability to take initiative. You're helping refugees find community resources, attention to detail, hard work, dedication. You might have to work long hours or respond to things in a quick, time sensitive manner. Customer service, if you're answering phones or meeting people in person. Obviously, communication skills. Working under pressure or in a fast paced environment, maybe needing to connect people quickly to resources so they're not homeless. Time management. So these are all skill sets that, from a volunteer capacity, you could add to your resume to make those upward or lateral moves. Um, so I'm just going to turn it now to Erinn because now we'll talk a little bit about how we can incorporate all of these paid skills and volunteer skills into how we incorporate all of that, chunking it up in terms of when we're looking at a job posting. Now, how do I pull all that together? And again, I really want, some of us aren't writers, and that's fine. And there's just a way to be able to pull your resume together, pulling all these things together. That's why I really strongly encourage you to connect with an employment agency. They can help you flesh out some of these skill sets. Some of the tools or the tips that I would like to recommend are, and I probably touch on it later, but Job Hero is a great, so if you type in Job Hero and then the title, then it will give you some examples of how to flesh out some of the skill sets that are most important to specific roles that you may have. And another one that I know that a lot of people may not, this is the vocational professional side of me coming out, but nobody loves labor market research, but the job, the government of Canada has the NOC, the National Occupational Classification System, and it is fantastic for giving you a list of all the skill sets for each entire role. For all of us, every single job, there is a NOC code, and you can go through there and say, okay, yes, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. If you're having trouble identifying your skills, lift them, put them in your resume, and then you can wordsmith it later. And that's what an employment agency can help you do. I'll turn it over to Erinn now.
Thanks, TerriLynn. Okay, before we go through the TAR method, let's just take a quick look at how to read a job posting and then the strategies to help you make the most of it. So let's say you found a job posting that you're interested in. So the first thing you want to do is take a look at the position summary. Is it contract? Is it temporary? Is it permanent? Then you want to make note of the closing date and check if there's an information session, because these sessions can be super helpful. They often explain things that might not be clear in the job posting, because if you work for the City of Toronto, you know, roles like support assistant C or even project coordinator, they can look the same on paper, but the responsibilities can vary a lot depending on the division. So you want to keep note if there is an information session, definitely attend. And then what you'll want to do is take a close look at the key skills and the qualifications. So this is where you figure out if the role's a good match for your experience. So we have actually added the experience levels on the right to just help with that. So this is a screenshot of the qualifications taken from the job posting. And you'll see, at the very least, you'll want to tailor your resume to show how your background lines up with the key qualifications that are listed at the top, right? So they're usually your guide, essentially, for aligning your resume with what the employer is looking for. So when you're applying for the role, ensure that somewhere in your resume that each of those qualifications kind of match, because recruiters, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for where have you demonstrated the qualification that has been listed on the job posting. And then another quick tip, so keep the job posting open. So while you're working on your resume and working to tailor it, you want to just also save it, maybe download it, keep it in your back pocket just to keep track of all of the positions that you have applied for that you're interested in. And always reference this document.
I would
And
go so far to say as you want to create a file folder, copy and paste that job posting into a document so that you can refer to it for an interview. You don't know if you're going to get called back, 6 months later. The one of the candidates may have fallen through for whatever reason, and you want to be able to refer back. And sometimes when you're applying to so many positions, it's hard to keep them all straight. So I save it as the job title and then the deadline date. Then this way I won't miss the opportunity. I can see it right away. I've got a file folder. It says job postings, and I can see the title and when it's due. It just helps you to stay a little organized, and you won't be like crying to the recruiter saying, "I missed it by a couple of minutes I or by a day." So you want to be really organized.
thank you. And now we're going to the final resume tips. So for the first tip, let's just take a look at these two or just examples of accomplishment statements that you might see under work experience. Now, believe it or not, we often see the statements like the first one, managed new staff on complex business processes. And it sounds nice, but it doesn't really give us a story. It's no specifics. And recruiters, we can't make assumptions, right? We can't read between the lines or possibly think about what you could be thinking. It's your job to kind of detail that information. And the second example is a way on how to detail that information, and that's by applying the TAR method, and that's task, action, and result. So this is the structure you want to use when writing your own accomplishment statements. So you want to start off with a strong action verb that clearly is tied to the workplace, like trained or train. You want to ensure that you're using the right tense as well. Then you want to describe the task. So what did you have to do? What did you do? And that would be train 3 new employees on company procedures. See, that's very specific. And then the next, you want to show the action or the value that you added. And that's by creating a step-by-step resource guide and delivering weekly one-on-one coaching sessions. And then you'll finally want to close with the result or the impact of what you did. We find most folks just add a task and an action, but they miss out on the impact. So it's very important to add that. What was the impact? What was the result of your actions? And then for our example, the fulsome response or accomplishment statement would be train 3 new employees on company procedures by creating a step-by-step resource guide and delivering weekly one-on-one coaching, ensuring consistent understanding and faster adaptation to team workflows. See, using the TAR method really helps paint a full picture for the employer. So it's a mini story that shows the impact and value that you can bring to the team. And one thing that I keep in mind when I'm screening resumes, I always think of that famous line from Jerry Maguire. I'm not too sure if anybody's watched the movie, but there's a scene where Tom Cruise and Cuba Gooding Jr., they're yelling back and forth, "Show me the money! Show me the money!" So let's be honest, we live in a society or a world where money talks. So it's your job to show the employer the value that you bring. How can you improve processes? How can you save time? How can you reduce cost? And how is your experience, how does it line up with what they're looking for? So you just want to keep that in mind as you're writing each accomplishment statement. You want to show the employer, show them the money. And this is just a list of proactive power action verbs. So this list is not exhaustive. But these are just examples of verbs that when you're writing or crafting your resume and you want to showcase initiative or your impact and result, you want to use words like facilitated, optimized, innovate, or just to highlight leadership, you can say problem solving, verbs like streamlined or verified, because this emphasizes efficiency and improvement. So using these skills or using these verbs, they create a dynamic narrative. So it demonstrates your ability to take charge and deliver tangible outcomes, because that's what the employer can expect from hiring you. And now, TerriLynn, to take us through our final resume tips, just the do's and do nots, don'ts.
I wanted to leave time for people to ask questions. So maybe what I
Okay,
will
that's fine.
say, yeah, I wanted to leave time. So I think what I will say is some of the things that we see a lot, really, you don't want to put I, me, or my. We see that a lot. Your objective. Also, you want to market again your skill set. Every single line on on your resume is real estate. So as Erinn was talking about TAR, proactive word. You should always be able to identify a proactive word, TAR, every single line. And what we're not seeing are the results. And that's very easy to kind of flesh out. Even if you're at an entry level, we can still help you. You don't have to be at a high level to say I worked with, over 500,000
Mhm.
K. It really is about, sometimes it is about the number, how many people you assisted, or how many community organizations that you assisted, or the percentage you saved, or but no acronyms. I know we all work for the city. You still need to spell it out, and I know it takes up space on your resume. Your resume should really, you're striving for 2 lines, but sometimes you're definitely not going to go past 4 because that's too much word, too many words for a recruiter to get through. Um, Cliches, jargon, you want to make sure that's out, and fancy graphics, you want to make sure that they're not out. No capitalizations. You don't know who's going to be reading your resume. Caps are not easy to read, and that's not just for my community, people with vision
Mhm.
loss. It is for all of us. Um, yeah, I think I wanted to leave it there in the event people had any questions um,
Mhm.
or
Uh,
comments.
Thank you so much for some great sort of suggestions. There are a couple of things that were brought up, and I'm not sure if they were handled, but someone had asked earlier on, can you use I in a cover letter? Like you said not to use it in a resume, but can you use I in a cover letter?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely. Yes, you can use it sparingly, I would say, but yes, you definitely want your cover letter to be still a formal writing style. But yes, you can use it. This is an opportunity to showcase yourself. So eye away.
Okay, great. I also wanted to kind of mention the artificial intelligent elephant in the room. Does it make sense to actually use, like, should you be using AI to help you with your cover letters and resumes? What do you guys think?
Yes, definitely. Okay,
okay,
if you
I'm
can
the
let
opposite.
no, no,
But
I
go
don't know.
ahead.
It
Yeah,
is a
yeah, yeah,
generational thing. I
Oh
don't
my
know.
God, I love it.
See, the thing is, right? Just like with AI, you have to be very specific because it's a computer at the end of the day. It cannot read your mind. So when you're inputting a query, you have to be very specific because we can tell if the resume is AI. AI usually produces and generates very broad statements, and it's not going to give us the specific projects and the number of people that you kind of supported and the programs and things like it's not specific at all. It's very broad. So as long as I know that there's courses out there on how to leverage AI, but as long as you're very specific with your queries, like, it's going to save you time, go for it. Like your competition is doing it, some of them, so you might as well lean into it. I'm not against it, but
Okay.
TerriLynn has other
Yes,
advice.
TerriLynn, what's your
I
what's your quick thought
do.
on that?
It's because I've seen AI resumes and they don't have the exactly what Erin's saying. But if you're paying attention to that, then absolutely use what you can. But if you're, again, with AI, if you're not putting in the things, then you're not going to get what you need generated. So for me, I really do encourage people to use the other way. Job Hero, type in the title that you're looking for, and even like if it's to flesh out your own skill sets, I was a project manager, job hero, project manager, and then it'll give you a list and it's already in that star format where you can lift it and then change it. And it will remind you of, oh my God, I do that as well. And so I think that that and like I said, the not code, because it gives you the 9 essential skills. It tells you these are what you're looking for, and that is what an employer is going to be looking for. All of our jobs are measured against those 9 essential skills. So from one all the way up to those high level jobs, those 11s will be listed in there. So you can again say, okay, I've done that. And that's a great way to build your resume, especially for some of us who have a hard time marketing our skill sets or talking about ourselves. This is an excellent way to build your confidence during the interview because once you start building your resume, I know it can be daunting in the beginning, but once you start building it and you say, I've done that, then you're just like, oh, okay, it builds your confidence for that interview and you know what you can speak to your skills in a new way.
I have a
So,
quick question. So say we build the perfect resume. Fantastic. We hit all the points. How do we screen through? Or is that a session for another day?
Howdy, that's a great question.
How do we
How do you
screen through? We just want to screen through. We just want to make it to the next step.
Well, it's usually, I find that the answer key is in the list of qualifications, right? But you never know what the pool of candidate is going to be. So you might have a perfect resume to you, but then the folks that you're competing with, other applicants, maybe they bring other experiences and unique experiences that are more valuable to the employer. So it always varies. That's my response.
And
I don't know,
I
Terry.
would use other methods too to market yourself. If we're applying as internal candidates, you might want to, connect on LinkedIn and say, "Hi, I just saw the job posting. I've applied. Looking forward to, if I'm a successful candidate to being selected, and so I could speak to my skill sets a little more." I think for some of us, you may want to connect. You've already connecting and networking with the divisions, and we've hosted that networking session. So it is about the resume that you're wanting to screen through, but we're all human, and there's that networking is there for a reason. So we can't discount the hidden job market, because there is a hidden job market. As much as many of our positions, we're trying to make it equitable, but sometimes it is about who you're networking with and connecting with.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Use
Thank you so
everything.
much. Leverage all your tools
Yes.
Absolutely.
and hopefully, as TerriLynn said, no more tears, right? Thank you so
Yeah.
much for that. I'm just going to hand it off to Simone to close off our session.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Inti, and thank you everyone for being with us here today. I hope you enjoyed today's session. I'm sorry, I was just looking in the chat. Yes, so thank you so much for being here with us today. I hope you are left with fresh insights into the application process and valuable tips to support your professional growth. And looking ahead, participants currently registered with the mentorship program would have already received an email with details on our next session, which is our virtual speed networking event that is exclusive to our participants. A registration link has been circulated. And thank you to those who have registered so far, but if you have not, please do so right away. Both mentors and mentees, please ensure to complete the registration before Tuesday, October 14th, next week, by noon. And then from there, you will receive a calendar invite with a Teams link and further details during the week of October 14th. So stay tuned for that. And looking forward to seeing all our mentors and mentees at our next session on at our speed networking session, and also our next professional development webinar on November 6th. So thank you so much to our facilitators today. Let's give them a huge round of applause. And with that, wishing you all the rest of your day. Wishing you all a fantastic day.
Thank you so much for the
Thank you.
invitation. It's nice to see
Right.
everybody. Thank you.